Times Radio app from the App Store or Google Play today.
Early Breakfast with Rosie Wright on Times Radio.
There are pictures of pure elation on the front page of the papers. The Times says 2 years of torment is over as hostages are reunited with their families. And there are the pictures of actually often mothers or girlfriends, sisters in the arms of the hostages who were returned yesterday with just these sort of disbelieving, jubilant faces. The Guardian says truce brings joy as Israelis and Palestinians are freed. The Daily Mail talks about a rescued Israeli hostage reunion with her freed boyfriend. And the Telegraph says Trump says let's end the Ukraine war from one conflict to another. Let's go through the papers in a bit more detail. Joining us to do that is Andrew Eborn, the barrister, broadcaster, president of Octopus TV. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, Rosie. A joy to join you.
Yeah, what's your sense just sort of looking at how the papers have marked what was a really historic day yesterday?
Oh, absolutely. People will be waking up this morning with these wonderful headlines, these miracle moments. As you say, it's pure elation from free from hell, talks about the sun. You've got 2 years of torment over as the hostages reunited with families. That's what the Times says. The long, painful nightmare is over. All of these wonderful, wonderful headlines and great pictures, photos capturing that pure elation as these hostages are released. It's a wonderful moment which has been wonderfully captured.
Yeah, let's look at a little bit more detail about exactly what Donald Trump said yesterday. Front page of the Daily Telegraph says Donald Trump is preparing to arm Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk missiles as he turns his attention to ending the war with Russia. What do you think comes next?
Well, I think he's right, isn't he? He's got to sort of turn around, and he is obviously disappointed. And it's something which we've spoken about previously about not getting the Peace Prize. But I think it's now time to put peace over politics. So progress is being made, and he has helped do that undoubtedly. But he's now, as you rightly say, he's got Putin, having met him and had that glorious pomp and ceremony where Putin sort of dominated, if you like, that particular meeting. He's now sort of turned around and said, well, he's got to finish this. He's got to get resolution in Ukraine. And so what they're saying is set to arm Ukraine with long-range, these Tomahawk missiles as he turns his attention to ending that war. And I think that's the key, isn't it? He's going to turn around, he's going to say, well, how do I negotiate with Putin? Can I frighten him by saying, well, we're going to keep sort of arming Ukraine until we get that done?
I think the question is, has what's happened in the Middle East and Donald Trump being sort of hugely buoyed by the, diplomatic success he's had there, where no one else had managed to secure an agreement in the same way, it had appeared a little that Donald Trump had sort of given up hope on Ukraine. He'd sort of put in a few sort of efforts, quite significant efforts, but thought this is becoming impossible. Mr. Zelensky said the US president's Israel-Hamas deal, I'm quoting here, brings more hope to other regions suffering from the effects of war. Might this motivate Donald Trump to think, right, I can actually have some traction here too?
Oh, I hope so. I mean, as I say, but putting politics aside, results are being achieved. And he is due to meet, don't forget, Zelensky at the White House on Friday. And the two leaders are due to discuss their visions for how the sort of long-range Tomahawk missiles could bring Putin to the negotiating table. And I think this is the point. We don't want the war to continue. We want to basically enforce people to come to that negotiation and jaw, not war, as we keep saying.
William Hague has written a comment piece in the Times today saying what Trump can learn from success in Gaza. He said mixing hard US power with personal leverage are the two elements that helped seal the ceasefire deal. The president could use the same in Ukraine.
Yes, it's a great piece, as it always is from William Hague, with his wonderful experience as Foreign Secretary and obviously as leader of the Conservative Party. He references October the 27th, 1962, at the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis, when President John F. Kennedy, he took the fateful decision. He got two different messages in 24 hours from the Soviet leader, the second leaving less hope for peace. He decided to ignore that message and just respond to the earlier, more positive one. So what happens is you're getting this narrative in the media, you're getting this narrative played out politically, but you try and work out the bigger picture as to how you can do that. And he sort of says there's echoes of JFK's decision in how President Trump chose to respond. And you might remember 10 days ago, Hamas replied to Trump's 20-point ceasefire proposal. They agreed to the exchange of hostages and prisoners and to enter further negotiation, but said nothing about giving up its weapons. So what Trump did, he sort of turned around and said, well, OK, let's ignore that bit of it and interpret the Hamas reply as a breakthrough. And that's exactly what happened. And we've got the results, as I say, as a result of the wonderful pictures we're seeing today.
Yeah, that's where there'll be a difference if he says, look, I'm going to send Tomahawk cruise missiles to Zelensky. That is very different to the previous sit-down conversations or rolling out the red carpet he's had previously with Putin. So we will watch that closely. Brexit, Andrew, my goodness. Colin on WhatsApp has made me laugh this morning, talking about why taxes we think they're going to go up in November. Colin's texted in to say Brexit is to blame. Could it not be the Crusaders or the Reformation? What about the financial incompetence by the Chancellor? Wes Streeting has said, I'm glad we could now admit that Brexit is a problem, saying, me and the Prime Minister sort of in lockstep here. Is Brexit to blame for why the taxes may have to go up in November?
Well, I think the glorious thing here is, as you rightly point out, they're trying to blame and distance themselves from Farage and whatever they can do on that sort of basis. So what they're going to do, they're going to go back on their election promise not to increase the three main taxes. You remember that sort of triple promise, which are clearly going to be broken. And so what they have to do is try and blame somebody. So what they're doing, they're trying to pin the blame on Nigel Farage for the tax hikes in the budget. They're sort of turning around and saying, well, Brexit hasn't worked. People didn't really understand it. They didn't understand what they were voting for. And he said it basically was done with easy sloganeering. So without having any particular plan. And to a certain extent, Brexit hasn't fully worked. There are economic consequences, but we do need to make sure we get the facts. And I always make the point that the general electorate are far cleverer than politicians give them credit for. If you spell everything out and say, look, there are consequences here, we need, if you want, we need to get more money in to pay more money out. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how Brexit has actually benefited us and put that into perspective and have a look at that sort of side. But that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to sort of distance himself, if you like, from Brexit. He's trying to rubbish Farage and using that as a particular opportunity. Yeah,
we'll see the justification for whatever they decide in November. Well, in just over 5-6 weeks' time now when the budget finally comes. There is a brilliant piece inside the Times today about, we probably all know someone this has happened to, had their bike stolen if it's not happened to you. And a first-hand article of this woman who had her bike stolen, didn't have a tracking device on it. And then her friend said, look, scour all the online sites like Gumtree, eBay, Facebook Marketplace. You might be able to find it. She did, and she got her bike back.
Oh, it's wonderful. Ella Hodson is her name. And what she did, exactly that. It was a treasured bike. She's worn by her parents to make sure you lock it up properly and with a proper lock and so on and so forth. It was stolen. She tried to say to the Met Police, well, hang about, what can you do about it? They did very little. So she was advised, as you say, by her chums to look at things like Gumtree. And she saw it. She could see it, particular marks. They got rid of some of the distinguishing marks, but she found some others. And what then happened is she got together, you've got to be very careful about these sort of things, with the person who was selling it. And she went along, the police were going to apparently come originally and then
she went with two friends, didn't she? I think so. It wasn't just by herself.
And I think that's the important point to make, Rosie. You don't want to take too many things in your hands and risk your own safety. But the police did say originally they were going to come along. They couldn't come along for whatever reason. And in the end, she turned around and she came armed with 80 quid in cash, but turned around and said, that is my bike. I want it back. And she got it apparently without having to pay the person. So it was a good, happy ending from that point of view. But that's the way that these sort of things work. So it's a good story. But I think the police need to do more to support people. And I wouldn't necessarily advise people's safety to take too many things into your own hands.
Well, the police actually didn't advise her to do that. And there was a bit of back and forth. At one point, the police were going to come with her. Then they weren't. Then they were. She just thought, I'm going to go ahead anyway. The reason she bought the £80 is because that's what he'd been asking for as the sale price on Gumtree. But fairly daunting. She says he turned up in a balaclava and dressed in black on his own two-wheeler with mine alongside it. You know, that would make you feel, I think, pretty nervous. He said,
absolutely.
He said, oh, you took so long, I thought you were scamming me. She said, I wasn't scamming you. This is my bike. You stole it from me on Tuesday and I'll be taking it home now, if that's all right.
If that's all right.
Yeah, if that was a success story. But, you know, it's ridiculous that you have to turn sort of amateur detective to try and reclaim your stuff. And, you know, she could have put herself at quite a lot of personal risk. So I think the police certainly...
Absolutely. And seeing the person, as you point out, in balaclava and all dressed in black would have been quite frightening. And it's wise that she took her friends. But as you say, it turned out all right. I'm taking it home if that's all right. She didn't have to pay any money. It's got a good result at the end.
Now, final thing. Parents, I don't understand what's gone on here. This is the Merton School Sports Partnership. They run sort of sports and physical education events across 40 primary schools in southwest London. They wrote to parents to say they would no longer be welcome at the sports events they deliver because of the poor behaviour of the parents. What's been happening?
It's extraordinary, isn't it? As you say, parents have been banned from these London school sports. What's happening? They are pushy parents and the sideline shenanigans. Apparently, they're getting too involved and too wound up trying to support their children. They have been interfering, apparently invading the finish line to stop people finishing on time. And so it's quite shocking. So they've taken this terrible decision because children want to have their parents there and parents want to support their children. They take this terrible decision to ban them. So that's what's happened. So parents have not been invited into schools. They've previously been allowed to, and basically even those in public spaces such as parks or sporting venues. So that's what's happened. Too many concerning behaviours to be able to continue to accommodate spectators. That's what Nicola Ryan, the partnership's director, cited.
Andrew, thank you very much. Andrew Eborn going through the papers with me this morning. 29 minutes past 5. Let's get an update on the news. Here's Tom Noonan.
Across the UK, on DAB, online and on your smart speaker. This is Times Radio.
Thank you, Rosie. Good morning. Donald Trump has indicated he's given Hamas the green light to temporarily police Gaza after it cracked down on